Hello, brothers and sisters and seekers. Let's address the bear in the room. For many years now, we have been hearing about wars and rumors of war. Prophecy is being fulfilled every day. And one of those whispers of a rumored war that seems to be getting louder and louder is that of Russia versus the United States of America. As prophetic dreams on the topic are increasing, tensions between the two nations also seem to be increasing, or kind of up and down depending on who is in office. But years before the internet existed, God gave me a dream of an attack on America from a joint force, Russia and China. Now, again, this dream was well before the internet, so I wasn't hearing of anyone else having the same dream like I do now. But let me describe what I saw happen in this dream. I could see some sort of warcraft in the sky, and written across it was USSR. This is the old name of Russia that stood for the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, commonly known as the Soviet Union. Then I could see China being represented as well. I recognized these two nations. Suddenly, they began dropping missiles on America, and they were not following the rules of engagement. These missiles were hitting civilian spaces everywhere. People were running and screaming everywhere. We had been hit. That was such a jolting dream, and I knew it was either a warning or a preparation dream. Fast forward to February 19th, 2025. This was another dream. We were in a huge space. I don't think it's relevant as to what kind of building it was or what the environment was. I don't think it matters to the dream so much as it was just very huge and it was public. So a lot of people were in this space. Outside of this large building with this large gathering, brown bears were outside trying to pry their way inside. One got smacked down to the ground and was defeated. Another one figured it out, making his way inside. I ran from the table as he was coming down from where he broke in, right above our table. I kept looking back to make sure my family didn't get hurt and told them to run as well. People everywhere were running, but we all seemed to make it to safety. In the following scene was thick, tall snow. So much snow, people were sledding off high mounds of it. Then suddenly, numerous cars began sliding down these snowy mounds. Numerous people were getting out of these cars. They were wearing nice aristocratic like clothing and those furry hats. It was many of them. Eventually, though, they all got back in their cars and drove away. I realized as they were driving away, these were Russian people. This is the interpretation I have for this dream, and I come to this interpretation based on all of the symbolism. The bear represents Russia. And these bears were trying to force their way into a public space, a space where they were not wanted. However, there was a fight at one point. It wasn't like a complete surrender to them because at one point a bear got slapped down. Then another bear was clever enough to get into that space, but it didn't seem as, again, there no one got hurt. So even though he was able to get in, still nobody got hurt. Then in the following scene, it tends to have the same theme where these are Russian people, except these were people, not just the bear, but it was represented by actual people. And the snow, I think the snow is also very symbolic because Russia is very cold and there's a lot of snow in Russia and it gets very high. And this snow was very high. And they just slid right on down. It's like just very simple for them. It was like just a normal thing for them. And as I said, again, many of them were getting out of their cars and they had those hats, those hats that we've often see them wear. I don't know if it's still common for Russian diplomats to wear, or politicians or whatever, to wear those hats still, but this is what I saw in the dream. And they were also dressed as aristocrats. And we also know Russia is no longer an aristocracy. However, this is how they appeared in the dream, just like Russia is no longer called USSR. However, in the dream, that was what was on the aircraft or on the warcraft. Now you have to understand, I didn't know any of this. I had to actually research it. So after I had the dream, I'm like, oh, is Russia an aristocracy? I researched it. No, but they were in the past. And then, after seeing the warcraft with the USSR, I knew they were not called USSR any longer. But what I didn't know was that there was talks of Putin, who is the current leader of Russia, wanting to kind of return Russia to that place, to that time in history. So it's worth research, and I can't say that I've done a lot of research on it because I haven't. However, in the dream, that is how they appeared. They appeared as old Russia. Now they left, and they left peacefully, much like how the bears did not get a chance to hurt anyone. If you are not aware, I will mention this as it is extremely relevant to these type of dreams of war, rumors of war, and things happening on American soil. About a year ago, God gave me a dream where He showed me He is covering America. Now, I have made a video about this, and it is titled What God is Doing to America. In this dream were two very powerful eagles, but one of the eagles was smaller, and above that smaller eagle was the large eagle, the large, more powerful eagle. And what the larger, more powerful eagle did was covered the smaller eagle with like a white covering. And the crowd erupted in all of this joy, just excitement. And it was the American crowd. There was the colors red, white, and blue. I instinctively knew this was America. God was clearly showing me that He is covering America. This dream was in high definition clarity, extremely bright, extremely clear. However, no matter what, we should pray because there is definitely something brewing with Russia. Probably has been for years. And on a personal note, not prophetic, I wouldn't be surprised because I've seen them be lied on. I remember being called a Russian bot when some of my political stances didn't align with the majority of the people in my ethnic community. They literally blamed my views and various other people who shared my views on Russia. And we're sitting here saying we are not Russian and we are not Russian bots. It couldn't be, I just didn't agree. It simply wasn't true. This made me question other things being blamed on Russia. I clearly recall Putin sitting with an American journalist and laughing at us, saying we have quite the imagination. But I digress. I'm no political expert, I'm no military expert, and I have no government intel. That being said, let's take a look at what the prophecy concerning Russia at the end of days tells us. In the Bible, the land of Russia is referred to as Ross, and I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, some Bible prophecy scholars interpret Ross as a word associated with Russia. Here is the explanation we are being given. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, the Bible mentions a leader named Gog, who is the prince of Ross and Meshech. By phonetic assimilation, some interpret Ross as a word associated with Russia. Meshech is also a term that some interpret as referring to Moscow, the capital of Russia. In Ezekiel 38 and 39, the Bible also speaks of a great end-time coalition. In modern apocalyptic literature, meaning Revelation, Gog and Magog are sometimes identified as communist Russia and China. Then we can go into Ezekiel's prophecy, Ezekiel 38-39, where God prophesies about a great battle involving Gog, a leader from the land of Magog, who leads an army against Israel in the latter days. In this battle, Gog's forces, not God, Gog, this land of Gog, which is Russia, Gog's forces, along with various nations, invade and surround Israel. But God intervenes, destroying them with plagues, bloodshed, and fire. And we can find this in Revelation. This would be the Battle of Armageddon. Revelation 16:16. And they gathered them together to a place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. Just a side note, as we see here, Hebrew is still being used biblically to the very end. So Revelation is the very last book, and we're still using Hebrew words. By this end times prophecy, we understand then that Russia and China are definitely going to be here until the very end. And they will come against Israel, and then it's lights out at that point. But they're going to be here to the very end. So knowing this, knowing these two ancient nations will not be destroyed by anyone else but God, we need to be considering these dreams. We need to ask God, what are you showing us? Is Russia and China going to come together and come against America? Is that going to happen? And if it is going to happen, what is going to be the state of America after that point? Or will America overcome? And whatever the case, a lot of people say that they believe America is the Babylon, the mystery Babylon. And there was a time I considered that myself, but I'm not completely 100% convinced of that. And I have my reasons for it that I won't necessarily dive into in this video. But whatever the case may be, we need to be praying over the nation, praying obviously for the protection of the nation, for our military to be strong, but for most definitely for the hand of God to stay upon us. He has, like I said before, he's already shown me that we're covered. But at the same time, we have a nation that needs to put God back at the forefront, because ultimately sin weakens us. It weakens us individually, but it also weakens us as a nation. When we have this much perversion, it weakens the nation. It begins to corrupt and corrode the nation. Injustice, it begins to corrupt and corrode the nation. So when you're weak, you're more vulnerable and susceptible to attacks. And everyone is looking at each other. Everyone is looking at each other. They know our weaknesses. They know our strengths. In conclusion, we thank God for warnings and preparation. And if you're skeptical of dreams and visions, that's fine too. It's understandable why anybody would be in this day and age, but you can still pray. So that's all that I would ask, is that we continue to lift the nation up before the Father and continue to pray. Just as Abraham pleaded on behalf of Sodom and Gomorrah, because he had family that lived in Sodom and Gomorrah. And if God was to find even just 10 righteous, he would have spared the place. And there are definitely more than 10 righteous still left in America. And ultimately, many of us live in America. What we should desire is to see America repent and return to God. We should desire to see America correct her mistakes, for her to rise back up better than she ever was before, and to soar like the eagle that she is. I will see you in the next video. God bless you.